in vocals, there are an awful lot of things that we try to teach. And this is true whether you're singing or whether you're speaking. In any form where you're trying to communicate with your audience, there are certain things that are really important in business, whether you're in sales, maybe you're in training, whatever you do. Again, your vocals, your voice, it's important that it conveys the message that you want to convey and that it grabs the attention of your audience. So I refer to this as T-Man sound, the method that I try to teach. And here's what that stands for. The very first thing that we think about is the tone of your voice. Is it your actual tone, or is it a little bit raised, like such, perhaps a little bit of apprehension in your voice? And sometimes we hear people and they seem to talk in question marks, or they're not quite sure themselves in how they speak, or is it settled? And so tone is very important. Also with tone, we want to make sure that we don't have an edge to our voice, that our voice has a very pleasant sound to it, and that people can sit there for a long time listening to us, whether we're singing or whether we're speaking, without them becoming uncomfortable. And I think you understand what I mean. There are some people who have a little bit of an edge to their voice, or maybe the voice is a little raspy, or maybe the voice just doesn't, it doesn't feel right. And we can tolerate that for a little bit of time, but over a longer period of time, it becomes difficult to listen to. The second part is that's so important in the communication is the message. So you have tone and then you have message. Now, message, many times we think that's the lyrics, and it has a lot to do with the lyrics, but it has more to do with the approach than even just the lyrics. I could say, he's coming over tomorrow, and you might think, well, he's coming, somebody's coming tomorrow. Or you could say, he is coming tomorrow. Let's see, let me get the words right. He is coming over tomorrow. That has a complete different feeling to it. Here's another one. He is coming over tomorrow. Again, another feeling to it. And so when we sing or when we speak, where we add those where we emphasize different words in our phrasing, tells a lot about the true message. And many times in singing, this is not done. Everything has a very mono-ish type of a sound. It's just there's no variance to it. Some people put so much variance in there, that's distracting, where it's like, oh my gosh, that's too much. So there has to be a good balance there so that we can hear the message. Now, how you know you've done a good job messaging is if at the end of a song or at the end of speaking, members of the audience come up and say to you, I've heard a lot of people speak on this, I've heard a lot of people sing that song before, but I never understood the message of it. I never got the same thing from somebody speaking on this same topic as I did when you explained it. So messaging is extremely important, every bit as important as the topic. Years ago, John Wayne did a number where he read the Star-Spangled Banner, and he didn't sing it; he just read it. And John Wayne's not known as a singer, but because of the way that he stated the Star-Spangled Banner, it came across as, well, it was musical because you could hear the music in the background. But we all believe John Wayne, because John Wayne is synonymous with America. So we got the message. And he did it in such a way that there were many people who I've heard say, I've never heard that in the same manner as when John Wayne did it. Never heard the words the same. The next part is your audience. Now, every audience that we have is a little different. We might think they're the same, particularly if it's something that we're doing night in, night out, or if we're training groups of people. But every audience is a little unique and a little different. And the reason is because of the people that comprise it. And so when we communicate with an audience, whether through music, speaking, we have to understand them. We have to know what our intent is with that audience, what we want them to get out of our message. And so intent is extremely important. And we have to invite them to listen. Now, that doesn't mean that we say, okay, I want you to listen. When the music starts, okay, I need everybody to shut your phones off and listen here as I'm going to sing. We have to do this by how we engage the audience. We need to know what our intent is with them, and we need to invite them. So audience is extremely important. Back when I was working with entertainers, I would say you have to break that barrier. There's always a barrier between the performer and the audience. Until you break that, until they become a part of you. And so for years, we would begin shows in the audience or coming down and through an audience so that you break that barrier right away, so that they, the audience, is literally a part of the show as it begins. Because you're always trying to bring the audience and the performers together so that they feel as if they know you and they're a part of what is going on. And many times, and if you're doing a number of songs, you'll see performers where they'll stop and talk to the audience. They'll share a person's story with them, or maybe they'll talk to a specific person in the audience and maybe find out a commonality with them and something they've done. This is all to break this barrier and to have the audience realize I'm just another person. I just happen to be performing today, or I happen to be teaching today. But that commonality of experiences is a great way to get the audience to join in with what you're doing. Lastly, in this acronym of TMAN, so we have tone, we have message, we have audience. The N is maybe as important as, well, it's as important as any of the other three. But I probably overemphasize it with the vocalists I work with. And that is, the N is no distractions. No distractions. What I mean by this is, if you are performing or you are speaking, anything that you do that takes away from the message, takes away from the audience, is distracting in any form or another to your tone or to the musicality, to anything that's distracting does not benefit you. It could be quick moves of the hand. It could be, if you are not a gifted dancer or you don't do choreography well, you might want to think of something else to do. Years ago, I was at a concert for a great vocalist, Linda Ronstadt. Boy, aging myself here. And Linda Ronstadt had a great voice. Linda Ronstadt, probably not the most agile person on stage, at least at this concert. And she stood there and sang. Didn't do much moving around. And I figured it's probably because she probably can't. Man, she could sing. That was probably good that she didn't try to do something she could not do well. Um, I have seen some others who did some things on stage that it was a major distraction. Why I'm going to date myself here again. This is back in the 70s, and I saw two folks, maybe it was in the 80s, but two big time artists, and they were big, and I'm not going to mention who they were because this is kind of embarrassing. But it was a duo, and they had a lot of hits out, and they were in a huge arena with about I don't know 12, 14,000 people there, and they're singing this song, and all of a sudden one of them just stops singing, and he's just playing, and the other, he literally just stops and looks. He goes, "Did you forget the words?" And the other guy did. He forgot the words. We didn't know because he just kept playing, and it's a live concert. You're thinking they're just doing something a little different, but the distraction was his partner calls him out on it right there. He goes, "You forgot the words. We've done this 100 times. You forgot the words." Now, my first thought was this was planned. Was not planned. This was not planned. What they had done. Because they kind of fumbled to get back into it. He goes, "Let's just do it again, and I'll remember it this time." Well, if it was planned, just not well done. So distractions are things that we want to eliminate as much as possible. Sometimes things happen. I remember one time we were doing a show, and the doors had been open. It was kind of a warm day, and the doors had been open, and some birds got in. And so we've got this show going on, and we got birds in the audience. Is that a distraction? It's a distraction. And so we're telling the company, the performers, do not react to those birds. No matter what they do, don't react. Well, that's fine, but I didn't have a chance to talk to the audience to not react. And so, of course, the audience is reacting to these birds, an obvious distraction. So we want to eliminate as many distractions as we possibly can. So this method, this T-Man method, and I refer to it as T-Man sound, is the method that I like to teach, and I like to emphasize these 4 areas: tone, message, audience, no distractions. I think when we perform in this manner, whether it's speaking or singing, we have a much higher chance of being successful in having a better experience for the audience and getting our message across. Now, getting the right tone, that's something in its own, and that requires a lot of work so that we have the tone that we're after. Sharing a message is a work in itself. How we phrase, how we where we emphasize, where we don't emphasize, making sure it's the right message. I've worked with a number of people that were working on a song, and I'll simply ask them, I'll go, "Tell me what the message of that song is." And they have to think about it. If you're getting ready to perform a song, if you're getting ready to give a speech, and you don't know what your message is, it's probably not going to sell. And by sell, I'm not talking about selling this way. It's not going to carry. People won't remember it. And when we do something, when we're given that opportunity to share a message, to share music, to share training, we have a responsibility to make sure that we do everything possible so that they, our audience, has a positive experience, that they learn, that they enjoy, that they're inspired. Lastly, we want to make sure that we are not a distraction to that experience. And it's real easy to become a distraction. There's a lot of things we can do that we don't even think of as a distraction that are. So if you're working with a vocal coach and you're doing some things, ask them to help you eliminate distractions. If you'd like some help with some of those things, please get in touch with me. I'd be happy to work with you. We can do it through Zoom, or some of you who are closer in the area, we'll get together. But my vocal students, they'll tell you that I harp on it as much as I harp on anything. And it could simply be doing this back and forth as you're singing. It could be rock. There's so many things we do that are distracting to our audience, that take away from the message. And that's their focus, not our message, not our intent. Okay. Just thought I'd share some of these things with you for those out there who do a lot of speaking or a lot of singing. These are simple things that you can work on, but they do take time. And obviously we should always rehearse every aspect just as much as we rehearse the speech or we rehearse the music. We need to rehearse making sure we're not doing distractions, and we rehearse that our message is coming across. Have someone else listen to it and ask them, what did I say? What was the message? And see if they can tell you. And if they can't, back to the drawing board and work on it again. Thanks for listening. Talk to you all soon.